Hey everyone. I know the recording in progress never ceases to amaze. But hello everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. My name is Jonathan. I'm here with Alex today. Hello, Alex. How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing good. This movie that we're about to talk about got me in the mood for the season that we're experiencing right now. So I'm
As you can
I'm
see
doing
by the
good.
colors we're wearing, it is a nice fall season going on.
Yes, we're both wearing the fall colors. You got that color scheme going on.
I'm ready for pumpkins.
Yes.
Well,
Every time I go in,
I've been
I
ready
went to
since like September for pumpkins.
I know September, they Halloween, the spooky season has been October and September. And a
Well,
little bit of August this year, I feel like.
in all fairness, like what's good in August and September other than my mom's birthday? It's school season, so like you don't want to deal with school. You want to have some
You don't
fun,
want to
and
think about
like
school.
Halloween's like great because it's not like you have to deal with like people really. You get to go just candy and spooky, and my stuff on my wall doesn't look as weird. I got
I went to the mall today and just it was like a good solid three color tones that they were mainly putting up there. Just the browns, the maroons, the like beige. Those were the main three color
Right.
tones.
Not only are these in seasons, but we're in season two. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologize for that joke.
All right, where can
I
we find you at, Alex? What's your
I'm
Instagram?
not sure we
Let's wrap this
should.
up.
That's not sure I should be giving that out anymore. Um yes, but
um,
this season is what's going on.
oh, nothing. I was just gonna say, yeah, the season is nice. It's a season for eggnog. I almost bought some at the store today as well.
The moment Halloween ends, I drink eggnog so much. Look, I'm lactose intolerant. It makes me very sick. Like I like it. I could get an ulcer. Honestly, probably. I probably do develop one. But it's so. I don't know why. It's not
It's
great, but it's so good.
it's amazing.
I
It's
love
the
eggnog.
the creaminess. The eggnog is so good, and I wish it was available year round.
I know, right? The moment I see it in store, I start buying it, and I don't feel well, but I love it. I'm a glutton for eggnog punishment.
Yes.
I think we should address that there's only two of us this
There is
episode.
I was about to say yes. There's only two of us this episode. Jerome, he is busy right now. He's making the dough, so he can't join us right now. But we're gonna power through, and hopefully we don't get chased by Michael Myers because we are talking Halloween kills today. Quite the transition, I know. Thank you.
That was so
I do
smooth.
not need any
It was
awards, but
like and round of applause. That was smoothest thing. Halloween kills,
Halloween
which
kills.
right off the bat, I'm gonna say I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it as well.
I was so pissed when they announced it because I'm like, no, the Halloween they had just made back in 2018 was so good. I loved it. I so loved it. And then they're like, oh, Halloween Kills, it keeps going. I'm like, no. But then I ended up loving this one really well. So I was like, oh.
And it takes place pretty much right where we leave off in the 2018 version. So basically, if you don't know, Halloween Kills, it is the sequel to the 2018 Halloween and the 12th, I did not realize this, 12th installment of the Halloween franchise.
Yes and no, because it ignores like 5 of the other films. So it does like, because technically in one of those films, Jamie Lee Curtis dies in there, in the one where they do that weird reality show one, like back in 2010 or 2008. With who was there? He was a rapper turned actor. Anyway, so technically she did die in one, but so it kind of ignores it because she also had a son in one of those, and then there was a daughter she had that died too, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So we just ignore that.
Yeah. We're basically, as of this Halloween, we're basically pretty much just calling back directly to the one from 3 years ago.
Yeah, let's do that. Which, well, you were correct. It did pick up kind of from where I also liked the Halloween from 2018 a little more than the other ones because it really showed realistic trauma reactions. Because Laurie Strode, she doesn't continue with a normal life. She goes into this ultra like hyper alert state where she has this whole house, this whole compound ready to defend and to capture, and it was amazing the thought she put the kitchen island moved to reveal an underground area where she had all these equipment. And you eventually learn that it's not as a safe room, but it's actually a way to capture Michael Myers. And where we lead off in the Halloween 2018 was that Michael Myers was trapped in that basement with steel bars.
That was burning.
It was burning and it was so close. And then the firefighters came, which so much respect for firefighters, those first responders, always good men and women. And with this movie, that's where we start off, is in that moment. And again, I was genuinely surprised at how much I liked that opening scene. It did it really well, and I thought it was just going to be kind of a loose, like, oh, this is how he got out, like a firefighter let him out and then we just see him walk off, but like the scene becomes so much more. And so I did appreciate that.
I agree. So basically we've pretty much already talked about our like first impressions, thoughts of the movie. So basically if you haven't listened to our podcast before, we talk in depth about spoilers. So we're getting into spoiler territory now. And you mentioned like the first kind of setup, how we ended the first movie and how we're going into this movie now. I did like how this movie started, in that we basically have, I don't know if this was the very beginning, but we have Laurie in the back of the ambulance and she sees the firefighters going to the house and she's screaming, "No, let him burn, let him burn." First of all, Jamie Lee Curtis is acting in that moment. I believed her.
No, I felt it.
I loved her. Yeah, I felt it.
Jamie Lee Curtis is just an amazing actress in general. And she's always played this role really well, but there was something about this movie that, again, with the spoilers now activated, she sees that it wasn't about her. And at the end of this film, it goes into this whole new, almost a new role for her. It wasn't that she's like Michael Myers' sister, that she's being hunted or anything like that. It was a whole new thing, because that's what she had experienced, running from him. She thought she was being hunted, and that's why she had to create that protection, that barrier, that compound. But really, it was something that had nothing to do with her, and just the world she had created had now shifted, which I thought was really cool on how they did that, because a lot of this movie was almost like storytelling, which actually, that was a mistake I made at the beginning. I had mentioned earlier, before the podcast, that I made a mistake, which actually made the movie a little more spookier for me. I was trying to put on subtitles, because sometimes I don't hear everything. Little subtitles help me.
That's weird, because the subtitles, for whatever reason, automatically came on for me, and I had to turn them off because I didn't want to watch it with subtitles.
I don't know. I love subtitles. I think they're the best thing ever. Get over it. Subtitles are great. But I accidentally put on it is I don't know what it's called, but it's a guide to help people who are visually impaired.
Oh, the audio description?
Yeah, thank you. The audio description for those who are visually impaired.
So when it explains, like, she is running through the forest right now.
Yeah, but the person's voice was so dramatic and so fit with the storytelling. Oh, like Karen goes into another room and you see her crying through the window. the silence in the house happens as the old couple walks through. And I'm like, this is good. And I thought for a second that's how they were made this movie now. It's because I know they were trying to turn it into like something more. I was like, oh man, they're just changing it into a whole story. And it got spooky for me. And then I was like, wait a minute, where are the subtitles? And my mom's like, I thought you did that on purpose. And I'm like, I did not. I just do stupid stuff sometimes. But I swear it did make the movie a little spookier at the beginning. And
Yeah.
like that mistake I love. And that I did feel that was kind of a vibe to this movie too, was that this was like the not the official, but this was a build into like we have spoken previously about this, about Michael Myers becoming like an immortal monster. Nothing can kill him. But through
Mhm.
the movie, it shows it's more of the story and the madness the townspeople have created about him. That he's still a human person, but the madness that is created within them that becomes the story. He's the boogeyman, he's the legend. Don't go to that house.
Right. Did you um when you first started watching, or before you even started watching, did you have a suspicion? Yeah, of course he's gonna live. Like, this is the Halloween series. It's Michael Myers. Of course he's gonna live at the end of the movie. Jumping to the very end of the movie, he lives. Did you suspect that at all? Because I definitely was like, yeah, of course he's gonna live because it's Michael Myers, Halloween.
Yes, only because everybody had blunt objects. Like there was a gun or two, and a couple people had sharp objects, but most of the people, or the townspeople, were carrying blunt objects, bats, pipes, things like that. And I'm like, well, this man has survived bullet wounds. You think suddenly a bat's gonna take him down? You got hit in the face.
Right.
Like, right. So that like bothered me. And also, I also said this. My mom watched the movie with me. This is a small town in America with a higher white population. You're all gonna look at me and tell me not one person has got like an assault rifle. There's not that creepy old man who has that case full of like heavy artillery shotguns or something like that. You guys have to use bats to go chase down a killer in the street.
Also, it's also I'm just flabbergasted that whenever in movies they think they've defeated the bad guy, they just walk away. They just turn around, walk away, stab him once, shoot him once, whatever. They don't make sure, they don't like slice him into a million pieces. They don't shoot him in the head 1,800 times.
I think what we're doing is actually going from the ending to the beginning, because that's exactly what I said when Allison and her boyfriend entered the Myers house. She went to go check on that couple. She puts down the gun. And I was like, never drop your weapon. And then the boy goes off. And I'm like, never separate. What do you like? Those are two basic main rules. So I was like, big thing is always never put down your weapon, ever. And a lot of times I saw them dropping their arms or like letting go of the weapon or putting it to. I was like, why? You're like, somebody's literally trying to murder you guys. More defense. I did really like how they brought that old cast back. Like I said, I feel like the Halloween in 2018 made the trauma more realistic. Like this is definitely something somebody who would have survived something would have gone through, made everything so much intensely secure. A battle plan. But it also showed the other side of people who were affected but weren't like in heavily affected it, like Tommy Doyle, the little boy in the original Halloween
Mhm.
movies that Laurie was babysitting, and he's like, well, I'm going to protect Dina because you protected me. But he has no control, not like her. She was ready, she was prepared, she had a game. He was running purely on adrenaline and fear and anger. That's all he had. And like pure solid emotion, which shows another like real trauma response, which you can, not think logically in moments of high intensity or crisis. You're really almost blinded by your own desires.
Mhm.
But I thought it was also just amazing that they had the cast come back like that and like be together.
Yeah. And it didn't seem, sometimes when there's reboots or remakes or a sequel that takes place like years and decades later, sometimes the cast, because maybe they were child, because a lot of these people were child actors in the first one, and now they're grown and maybe like they don't like act as much anymore, or they've stopped acting. Like I know Kyle Richards, who played, what is her name?
Oh,
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Yes. She's a Real Housewife. And I didn't I
Really?
yes, yeah. She's a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills. Um and I didn't realize that she was like an actress. Um but she did a great job. I thought she did a great job in the
No,
movie.
she was. They were all great.
Yeah.
I wish those kids would have died. Those annoying ones. Like I know
That was one of my notes. All of the kids in this movie were horrible. Like they
right,
were so annoying.
right. Not like yeah, no, they were terrible little kids, and I was like, well, he killed like a good kid in the first one. Yeah, you take those brats out. Why
Right.
not? Well, he did take one of those out. Apparently, that's not a nice thing to say, but I still stand by it. Because those are the kids that should have gone. And also, if you just thought there's a strange man following you and coming in and out of,
Why are
why?
you on the swings?
Yeah,
Are
why
you
do
talking
you?
about the kids on the swings?
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
like, oh, like a pervert's playing peekaboo with us. What in your mind? What, like, there is no basic instinct in you that tells you danger, there is a man following us or anything. You just go play with the swings and then let your friend go off alone.
Right.
There was no basic instincts for those characters, and I think that's what frustrated me about some of them. I was like, run. Just all you got to do is run. Nobody ran.
Mm-mm. What did you think about the fact that this movie was a continuation of the 2018 one? So we're basically still takes place in 2018. I said that at the beginning, and it's just one continuation of the last movie. Do you think the next one will be the same night? Do you think it'll flash forward at all?
That's what I was thinking about. Well, after I was like looking stuff up, I'm like, oh, there's going to be another one. I could see that. Um, I will say I'm happy they killed off Karen.
Are you? That was going to be another question. Do you think
So annoying.
do you think she's actually dead? Because they find a way to bring back people to life. I mean, you just
That's true.
mentioned,
That is very true.
but I think
I
she's actually dead.
I just found her annoying, especially in the hospital. Like she was very well prepared, with the fight at the end of Halloween, but like there was no, I felt no sympathy towards her too much in the film, because one, your daughter just left to go fight. I would go after her. I
Mhm.
would go fight. And then also the way she keeps trying to be like, oh mom, just sit down, it's all, like, your daughter's out there with a killer. Like, your mom is like still having these reactions. Like, maybe you should do something more than just be like, oh, let the cops handle it. And Lori was right. The system had failed them
Mhm.
continuously. So why would she be like, oh, just trust the system, trust them? Like, she was out in that hall where they were all chanting. By the way, that whole chanting of the evil dies tonight did scare me more than sometimes Michael Myers, because that whole mob mentality thing is actually a terrifying thought process, that they went and killed an innocent man. So
And that you're talking about the man in the hospital who
just
was
the,
who was out of jail.
yeah,
That when he jumped off the building like that, first of all, I didn't think they would actually have him like jump off the building, but once he was actually like outside of the building, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, he's gonna jump. And then like the gruesomeness of the body on the ground, like, ooh, that was a gruesome death.
yeah,
This movie overall was, I feel like, more gruesome
It showed more than the last one did, definitely.
Mhm.
Well, I got annoyed with her when she said, like, oh, trust the system. This is a good part of that mob was the cops from their town. And like
Mhm.
there was people from the county who were like, hey, like, let us figure out a plan, let us do something. You can't get civilians involved. That's fair. That's something I could have gotten behind, but they were so dismissive of like Lori and all that, which that was bad. But then you can't be like, trust the system when the cops are in the mob saying evil's gonna die tonight, when the doctors were too. They were chanting it. One like punched Lori, who had just had surgery.
Yeah.
So like that kept pissing me off because she's like, you saw an innocent man die because of the town people, and you're still really being like, let other people handle it. That it's not a good idea. But so I'm kind of happy she's gone because I feel like that was an obstacle that would have continued in the next film for
Mm.
Lori and even Allison.
Yeah. I could see where she was coming from with wanting to protect her mom, especially with the fact that she was injured and she needed to recover in the hospital. And in her mind, she was probably thinking, okay, yeah, but like, what are you going to do? I know you want to save him just for the sake of yourself, but like, what are you going to do? I think instead she should have said, the people, the community is going to take care of it, not just the people in charge are going to take care of it, because obviously this is how Michael Myers got here in the first place, because the people in charge didn't do their job right enough.
Which is, yeah, because they knew of his how dangerous he was. Also, like there was also with the mob mentality, the way they locked everybody in a hospital too
Yeah.
was not the greatest idea. I don't know if that was like, I understand that probably was a plot to the movie, but the way everybody was congregating at the hospital, I found a
Mhm.
little weird. Like you're about to go on like a manhunt. Why are you congregating at the hospital?
Right.
Like I feel like it should have been, it just felt weird, but I guess now that I'm thinking about it, they were trying to go for Laurie Strode wherever she was. They thought Michael would go to, but then they explained that Michael's just actually just trying to go home. Which in the other films, yeah, that's always where he was headed. Even in like those weird remakes, he was at home. He never actually went after her.
Mm.
He just wants to chill out. But
Going back to, because we kind of like went on a tangent there, but it was a good tangent. What do you think about the movie taking place on the same night?
I think that was smart of them to do because I think that is where they lost a lot of the steam for the other sequels, was that it kept jumping years and then you would have to go back and explain. Um, However, my mom did make a comment about how there was a lot of reminiscing. And for
Mm.
a second I was like, oh no, yeah. But then I like there's a certain point they're like, oh, I remember the night this happened. I was like, okay, I
Yeah, there
get
were a
it.
lot of flashbacks.
There was.
Well, there were flashbacks for this movie, and then there were actual flashbacks from the original as well.
Right. And then there was just a lot of scenes where they're like, oh, I remember that night having with the sheriff where he's like, where I told my daughter this and then I had to come find her, with her eyes plucked out or something like that. And I was like, well, we know that. Who are you telling? Why are you? Like after a while, I was like, yeah, no, I agree. Like, there's a lot of reminiscing going on when like it felt like a weird mix. Like, I really did enjoy the movie. I really loved it. I thought it was well played out. All the actors and actresses did a great job. Again, especially Jamie Lee Curtis, and I think her name is Andy Maddie Clark.
The
Madicott?
granddaughter.
Yeah. I like her a lot too. I feel like
Mhm.
they're gonna
She's
eventually develop.
compelling.
Yeah, she has a very strong will. But I think she has the mother's mentality more than the grandmother's. But I get again, the grandmother came from a trauma response, whereas she had such a normal life.
Mhm.
She didn't need to develop the hyper alertness from a young age. But
Wait.
what?
Okay, so I clicked on the actress who plays the granddaughter,
Mhm.
and the credit at the top of IMDb says Halloween Ends 2022. The saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode comes to a spine-chilling climax in this final installment of the franchise.
Well, that's a little. They didn't need to do that, but now we know. All right, Halloween ends. Officially
It's in the
ends.
title, Halloween Ends. So is it going to be defeated in the final one? Probably. Right?
I don't know. I don't trust them.
I know if even
no
if they do end it next year, they're gonna bring it back like 10 years later.
no, because like I literally just did an Instagram where I was like, where I saw Jason, the final straw or the final force. It was like the
Mhm.
fourth movie, and I'm like, do you think the creators, when they were deciding the title, really thought this is gonna be it? They didn't know about like Jason X, Jason in space, Jason in the hood. Because there's a scene where he's like in Brooklyn and he takes off his mask. I was like, they didn't know about any of that. They didn't know about
Mm-mm.
that horrible movie, Jason versus Freddy, which was weird. I
That
rewatched
was the
that.
one that Kelly Rowland was in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Everybody in that film was a terrible actor. There was not a good one. There was nobody played their part well. That movie was just awful. It was the opposite of this Halloween movie. You wanted everybody to die. Everybody was terrible. There's yeah, but so now we have the answer. It is going to end.
Yeah. End quotes end.
I don't trust them anymore. This was technically ended.
Right. So they must have filmed the movies back to back or very close to each other. If this one's getting released next year. Because 2018, that was 3 years ago. I can't believe 2018 was 3 years ago that this movie got released. It feels like it got released like last year or the year before. But
like 2019 and 2020 don't exist.
right.
They just don't.
They're one in the same.
But no, yeah. Well, now I feel like
I know.
I'm like speculating now. You taking me out of Halloween. No, focusing back on Halloween Kills. No, I feel like she was really great in this one too. She was much of a fight, and she had the intensity of Laurie, and that's kind of why I'm like, it may or may not end because they might just make her the new Laurie.
Yeah. So do you think speculating again
Yeah,
about Halloween Ends. So do you think Lori might die in the next one and then the granddaughter is gonna take over for anyone that they might have in the future?
maybe. All I know is that if they're gonna kill off Laurie Strode in the last film, they need to give her the best death. If they just
Mm-hmm.
end it with her just getting stabbed or dying in some like crappy, I will be pissed. I will be so angry because they do that. They ruin endings like they did with like the show Dexter. I like that show, and the way they ended that show was awful. And now they're bringing it back. Why? I don't know. They know. You know what? They know why, because they screwed up and everybody.
Money.
Well, I was gonna say they screwed up. Everybody left pissed, and they can make more money. It is about money. Um, what did you think about the? Because Jerome had brought this up, bringing Jerome into conversation a little bit. He brought up that he didn't like the idea that Michael Myers was not human, almost like he was an immortal being or a creature. What did you think about this? That kind of made him a little bit of both, because he was human, and you're right, they could have killed him. They could have just cut off his head. Nobody. That's why I said,
Right.
why is nobody just cutting off his head?
Right. I think that's the only explanation. That's the only reasonable explanation that he is some sort of immortal, human, non-human something. And Lori kind of alluded to that at the end of this movie where she said, you can't just kill him with blunt force. You have to kill him. What did she say? You have to kill him some other way. But alluding to the fact that you can't kill him with like the stuff that normal humans would die from. The other thing that like is a theory, but I haven't seen all the Halloweens, so I don't know. It might be something within his suit and mask that's preventing him from getting killed. But
I could believe that with the other ones, but this one they show him getting like just a mechanic's jumpsuit from
oh
in the
yeah.
original Halloween 2018. But see, like when they were kind of making that like immortality or like monster reference, when Jerome had
Mhm.
talked about it, when I started hearing the monologue, I kind of made the assumption like, oh, she's talking not an actual like monster, but like the monsters we create. Like that story you always have, growing up, that thing that hides in the shadow, the boogeyman.
Mhm.
The story you create becomes immortal and it becomes a legend, and everything. And again, like with the Myers house, you don't go in there. Any like the couple did, they're like, you don't enter the house unless invited, because then he'll
Mhm.
come for you. And he technically did kill the boy who entered the house, not the two other kids. So
And
that
he killed
story
the
lives.
couple. So
Yeah.
apparently they weren't invited.
I love how they redecorated that house. Just really quick. Cause like that I it didn't mean to take me out of the movie. It was not supposed to,
Like I'm
but
getting some inspo.
like the green they use on their wall, and it's even like my mug. This is a dark green, but it almost looks black. They had this
It
on their
does.
walls, and I loved it. It's not something that takes you out of the movie, but it took me out of the movie just because I absolutely love the decorations. The house was beautiful. Like I didn't know that. I get now why I was wondering why they had put the couple in there, and then they're like, "Oh, this is Michael Myers' old house." I was like, "Wow, the reconstruction."
Speaking of couples, I felt bad for the old couple when they
Right.
were just minding their business playing with the drone.
But it was also kind of their fault. You see a bloody handprint, you don't go upstairs with a cheese knife, if anything. And a lot of these times, well, now we're gonna jump back to the beginning of the film.
Right.
Stupid tropes. That sweet older couple at the way beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I will just say this: it was the white guy who walked in front and said, "Hey." He did the hello thing. He did the hey, and then at least the black older woman had the smarts to grab a wine bottle, some defense. But then they both got stupid at the end when Michael Myers was seen. Run, just run.
Run.
Why?
That's I was screaming to myself at the TV. Run. Just run.
Right? And she
Don't try
what?
to fight him off.
Yeah, and then she kind of stood there. She like I can understand if like you're trying to help or you want to help or you're doing so. She just stood there watching. I guess that is a response.
Right.
That's fair. Okay.
And then she
Not
was forced to watch him torture her husband's body when she was like bleeding out as well, sitting there.
That's what I thought was actually really interesting, because I think that's where I started to think about the shift from being human to monster almost, because
Mm.
that almost seemed like now Michael was enjoying it. Michael Myers.
Yeah, he was
He,
doing a lot of torturing in this one.
yeah, like before it was like he killed, maybe he set up a display or something that was like prompted to kind of signal the same event of the same night, kind of reliving it over and over. But this was definitely a break from just like I'm murdering for the obstacles in my way, or I'm murdering to show like I'm almost reenacting the same night. This was definitely something he took him from a different room, brought him back, and was just putting various knives in his back. And I think that was a good shift and show where he's no longer the Michael Myers we knew. He's not just a murdering fiend. That's like something a real monster would do, is just take pleasure in just the violence of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I yeah, I got the idea. And then when they get to the hospital and that whole they have that moment of breathe where like he's dead, we got him, it's all good. And then the chaos that's happening outside, I also thought that was kind of a nice little split before bringing it together. I thought they did that really well. They didn't until the cops showed up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also liked that whole interaction of everybody when they were at the bar. It set it up well, what they were there for. It was a good way of bringing like the survivors of Michael Myers together, and they referenced it. We knew why they were there, and then they find out that he's on the loose again, and they have to relive their nightmares all over again. And I thought the black couple was gonna make it longer. I was sad that they died. I thought they were gonna make it a little longer.
I was surprised they didn't die first.
The tropes, yeah.
Well, one, they were also kind of dislikable, so I thought that was setting them up too. I was like, okay, kind of annoying, you know. I was like, maybe that's a setup. And then
the woman,
I think it was Mallory.
Mallory.
No. Mallory or Lindsay died first. By the way, I was so annoyed when they were in that car. She was shooting at the windows. Marion, her name was Marion, and like she made a giant. She shattered the window, the window in the passenger side, and then she locks the doors. And I remember saying, "What was the point of that?" And also, the doors weren't locked previously. You're like manhunting a killer, but nobody thinks to just lock the doors. Like there was a lot of steps I felt like they were missing for going on a manhunt.
Yeah. Well, to be fair to them, it was a last minute mission. They had to do this impromptu type stuff.
Nobody was wearing seatbelts either.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's dangerous too. Because you can fly right into those airbags, and that's just a PSA for everybody. Wear your seatbelt.
And they're driving in the dark too, so
absolutely. You never, especially with something that literally pops out of nowhere, you could hit him, and that's like hitting a tree. That's
I know
damage. So wear your seatbelt.
You're gonna be hurt more than he will be.
Yeah, so wear your seatbelt in case you come across an immortal serial killer that will damage your car. But that whole scene kind of made me angry because I was like nobody had any survival skills in that moment.
None.
And she locked everybody in the car, even though all the windows were now shot open. And the way the black actress, I did like how she came shooting back. She got out of the car, she came back, and she shot really well. And then that move Michael Myers did where he hit the car door and it bounced on her, she shot her head off. I was so impressed. I don't know if that was scripted. I don't know if that was just off the cuff moment or they're like, let's do this now. But that few seconds was so well executed and I loved it. I was so impressed.
It was a series of events where Michael Myers just said no mercy. He killed everybody in that car.
But he murdered her. He viciously murdered everybody else. Then he just does this cool kick move. He was like, you know what? I'm kind of tired. So this one's gonna just end quick. And he does it. And I'm always impressed by the actors that play Michael Myers because their skill level, their movements are so it's somehow still it's stiff, but it's quick. And it's I'm in awe of it that they can do that.
And one of the things that makes him scary is the fact that he just walks everywhere. He just walks. He doesn't have to run. He doesn't have to ambush people. He doesn't have to hide sometimes he pops in out of nowhere, but for most of the time you see him coming from a mile away and he's just walking, but he'll still get you.
That's why I always said I wouldn't want to be a hero because heroes are always running places and I can't do that. I learned I have a bad back now, officially. So it's I can't run. It hurts to speed walk now, my lower back. No, and I'm not entirely sure who played Michael Myers because when we looked at the IMDb, there's no official Michael Myers. It's called As the Shape, and when you click on it, which I'm still a little confused by, but I guess it's the people who mainly appeared as the figure.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one played that car scene, but that scene impressed me the most. So whoever played that one was just major props to because that whole car scene was very bad. And that one was also one of the most active killings, I guess you could say. And again, I think it was nice, almost not intro, but it definitely was different than his normal killings. His normal killings were very calculated and just like done. This he like got on the roof of a car and was almost like playing with them. And I think again that was the monster mentality. He was
Right.
playing with them instead of just like killing them off. He was having fun.
Right. Right.
I think it's like what they said at the end. It's the 6-year-old because he stopped mentally at 6, and he's now in this like body. And that was almost like the 6-year-old coming out. He was playing with them, and he was
Mhm.
having fun, and that made it extra creepy to me because it wasn't like the Michael Myers I remember watching as a kid, even in the old movies that we don't talk about anymore that they're not connected to. Um, his movements again were always calculated. He waited. He didn't kill. If you were hiding enough, he didn't come back for you. He just kept walking. But this
Right.
one, he was definitely toying with people, letting them get close enough, and then just ripping them apart. And there was a scene when they were all ganging up on him where he cut somebody's Achilles heel, and it hurts me so much when people do that in movies.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
there were so many moments in this movie where I was just like, oh, where I cringed. I was like, oh, I like had a visceral reaction. The eyeballs popping at him when he would like gouge people's eyes out. That was oh, I just oh
That didn't bother me, which is weird because usually anything with eyes, like I freak out. And same with like fingers and nails, I can't. No matter how much I love horror films or anything like that, spooky stuff, I cannot watch it when it like they're going for nails and stuff. It freaks me out. The one of the final battle scene when he like also gets the guy through the arm, I like grabbed my own arm. I'm like, oh no, I felt it. I felt like that those muscles. So,
there was also a point where I guess I was so on edge. It was a quiet scene, and then in the next scene, like the door opens or the door slams, and I'm like, oh, and I could just imagine myself if I was actually watching in a movie theater, like with you and other people, I would be laughing so much after that happened because like y'all would just be staring at me like, geez, jumpy much?
it was kind of like the nun where I screamed because the women behind me scared me. So, because I really got into it, so you would have probably scared me too. That helps. I probably would have screamed, so it would have taken the focus off of you.
I just remember when we watched that. And when we were watching that, it was either we were watching that or it. And you were like,
It was
and
it.
it was it. It was it. And you were like, and I died laughing after you said this. It's like the people behind me are scaring me more than the movie is.
They were because they kept like jolting my chair too. And then no, it was Tevin who scared me with the nun
That was Tevin with the 9, yes.
because I you did say hello to Tevin, but I didn't hear it. And just he had been leaning forward, and I looked over, and there's a face between you and me all of a sudden because I was going to say something to you, and it's Tevin there, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, why?" We have literally just been watching a movie about this like face coming out of stuff out of the darkness. That's not
Mhm.
okay. Um, but going back to what we're trying to review, other than just us being scared in movies, I agree. They let the suspenseful scenes like stay long enough that you did feel it, and they I feel like they just did this movie really well. Some of the characters and actors kind of got on my nerves, like with Karen and Tommy too.
And the
But
kids.
like, yeah, the kids. But like the actual setting of the movie was really good. The way they did that monologue at the end, where they're just talking about him, like it's not gonna end because it's still a story going on. I like that they
Right.
almost presented this as a story where they were like, you found more and more like, look at the madness of the town, and it was all still Lori from her hospital room almost narrating things. And I think that kind of, again, I said go back to the monster part. Not only where he's doing now things for fun, but now it's becoming this whole myth because now the kids didn't remember who Michael Myers were. They're like, oh, don't you know who he is? And they're like, no, we don't know what you're talking about. So his story and his legend was dying but now it's almost been reborn because those kids are definitely gonna be like, well, now my friend's dead. All those
Right.
teenagers and that young of an age. So I did really enjoy that end monologue there that fit so well. And also the way he breathed at the end. Did you notice that? He took a deep breath in.
Didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Maybe I did, and I just didn't clock
At,
it. Or
at the end of the movie, he stands at his window and goes, and it's almost just like, I don't know. I can't tell what that means. And that also trips me out because it's like,
oh, that was like the very last
yeah, the
shot, right?
single shot at the end.
Yeah.
It's super unknown because it's like he relaxed for a second because he's finally home.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what does that mean when Michael Myers is relaxed?
Right. So
So
that might be like foreshadowing to the next movie. That might be either in the next one, he's just gonna
we're gonna find him
find
in Maui.
himself. Right. He's just gonna find himself at peace, and he's gonna leave everybody alone and promise to never kill anybody again, or he's gonna die. I don't see any in between.
I just feel like there's lots of ways to kill him, and
They've not tried any of them.
terrible at it. Like, yeah, there's just
So
for like multiple spots where I was like, there are easier solutions to what you're doing, but I understand from the normal aspect of it, your high emotion causes you to not think as logically. And again, it was that mob mentality. So they just kept saying kill the evil, but like nobody really came up with a plan to kill the evil other than I'm going to hit him with a bat.
mhm.
Which he got hit in the face with a bag of bricks. That one, Lindsay did it. She whacked him like 3 times in the face with the bag of bricks. And like, I'm like, definitely a wooden baseball is not going to hurt this guy.
Right. He's
So,
gotten stabbed. He's gotten burned alive. He's had many gunshots shot at him. A brick is not going to do anything.
baseball bat and a pipe are the worst weapon. I mean, it's America. We have explosives here. That's not an encouragement or anything. I don't mean it like that, and I understand that's not the point of the story, and they can't do that because that would quickly end it. So, but I'm just saying at the same time, the options.
When will they know if he's dead for sure, if he's defeated for sure, when his body is like ripped into a million pieces? Is that the only way? Because even if like, I don't know, they cut off his head, even if they stab him, like there's a chance you could sew that head back on or something. There's a chance
if he
that
sews
like
that head back on, that's a whole nother issue that like I think we have to really. That's like then we jump into zombie. I think Lori is the only one who's ever seen his face. And actually, so
well, and
Karen, but she's dead.
Karen, yeah, she's dead now.
And that whole mob saw his face for real too, but they're all dead. So
wait, wasn't the granddaughter there when Karen ripped his mask off? Or no?
oh yeah, no, she was like in the hallway.
Because she was like injured and she was just like,
yeah, no, you're right. And she was still in the house when the mask.
So it's like a family thing. Like the family has seen his face.
Yeah, so it's the grandmother and now the daughter. They are the only ones that can claim Michael's death because they're the only ones that know what he looks like. That's why in the hospital when the mob was like, oh, that's him. And Lori was like yelling, you've never seen him. You have no idea what he looks like. Like, so I guess it's only they can confirm it, which kind of makes sense what she was saying. It ends with her. Well, I guess now possibly Allison. It ends with them because they're the only ones that can confirm the death. Everybody else is just like can speculate, but only they can probably confirm the death. But as for the cutting it off the head and if you can sew it back on, that would be a whole nother movie.
Yeah. And they'd probably make a whole nother franchise out of it.
That would be like I feel like that would end up going into that Jason route, suddenly Michael Myers in the hood.
Michael Myers in the hood. Coming 2023.
Sure.
Oh.
He liked that idea, Michael Myers in the hood.
He perked up.
Yeah, he's like, hey, that'd be a movie I'd watch. I mean, I love terrible horror films, so maybe that's his thing too. Although I haven't really watched a lot of on TikTok, people have recommended them to me, and some of them are just bad, but not like this. This was a great movie. See, I brought
This
it
was a
back.
great movie. So there we go. Wrapping it up, Alex, what is your grade for this movie? Final thoughts.
Um, I would actually give this movie an A because I think they showed the trauma response really well, more realistic than the other films. Um, Lori may have been able to be hyper vigilant and be all this planning, but still, things don't go according to plan. And when she was like dying, she still wanted to fight, which is another thing that occurs. You don't know when to stop.
Mhm.
And I think it showed more realness than other horror films did. And I think I appreciated that the most. And that's what made me get in that mob mentality of how quickly people will turn. Those who are meant to do good, like the doctors, they turn, the nurses turn too. Went after a poor innocent man who was just mentally ill. And that whole the town finally wants to get revenge, and the way they were making him, this is now a story, a myth, the legend. I always kind of like those where it's like, yeah, they're dead, but this story is permanent. That fear is permanent. The thought that you're one day going to see him again, even though it's gone, again, is another thing one can experience from like trauma. And it's just, it feels more real.
Mhm.
I understand the immortalness that they are trying to give him is very unreal, but the townspeople's reaction was very real, and that's what I loved about this movie. It made it feel like this was something that almost could happen, and they let the suspense ride. And that couple's house with the beautiful green walls, I loved, and I just really got into it, and it was an enjoyable movie. So I definitely give it an A. And of course, I just love Jamie Lee Curtis. She is
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. I've never seen her in a bad film. I love her. So
She's she's good. One of or the scream queen. She's one
mhm.
of these one of the great scream
I
queens.
I can't think of another actress that I've seen in more horror films than her, or ones that I've
I know she's been in
loved.
a lot.
Yeah. All right, what about
Well,
you?
her mom. Sorry, side note. Her mom is, of course, Janet Leigh, who is in Psycho, and she actually dressed up because the Halloween premiere was a costume party. And I had actually seen it, like, I think it had come through my email or something. They said, people are wanted for the audience of the Halloween Kills premiere, costumes required, blah blah blah. And then I saw like pictures and videos from the premiere and the costume party, and she dressed up as Marion Crane from Psycho to honor her mom,
I think
which I
that's
thought
really
was really
cool.
cool. Yeah,
No,
I
I
thought that
love
was
that.
really cool. So Jamie Lee Curtis is awesome. But I would probably give this an A minus. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. But probably the A minus was because, and I don't think I mentioned this in the review, but I probably would have liked just a tad, a hair bit more of the storyline advancement. Maybe like even we got a whole bunch of new characters, but they
They're
were
all dead.
either, yeah, they all died, or they were from one of the previous movies. So maybe like I would have liked if maybe they had brought someone in who was, and I usually don't like movies and TV shows just bringing in random characters just for the sake of it, but like one character who like I don't know had a connection to Michael, or and they kind of did that with the flashbacks to um
Yeah.
the 1978 or whenever it was. Um, but those didn't really matter in like the grand scheme of things because it all came back to what's his name? The guy who was leading the what was his name?
Tommy.
Tommy.
Yeah.
So just yeah, maybe just a little bit more of the storyline advancement, but on the same note, I like that it took place on the same night as the 2018 one because in the 2018 one that didn't just take place on Halloween, and we got that backstory and everything. But in this one, we got a lot more, I feel like, of the action. It was like action from start to finish, and I really appreciated that. I like action, and when I'm following like an adventure or whatever, or you're trying to find somebody or whatever, which is what they were trying to do for the whole movie, is find Michael Myers. So I appreciated that, but overall I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I jumped a few times.
Yeah. I get what you're actually saying. Now that you mentioned that you wanted more advancement, no, I definitely agree with that, because they still ended the movie the same way they have ended all the Halloween movies, where it's him surviving, and you don't know if this is a human man, if like the evil is actually now just manifested. They made more of an advancement when they were talking about him becoming more of a myth, and I think that's definitely a setup for the next movie. But I agree, it did just end the same way all the movies end. You think he's dead, he's not dead, and once again it's him standing there making eye contact with you. So
Right.
I definitely agree with you that that the advancement kind of fell flat. There was no progress with any of the characters. There was no advancement with them. They were all still very much the same in the end. So yeah, I could see what you mean, that you would want a little more of that.
Yeah, just a little more, but overall I thought it was good. It was very fun and very entertaining and very good.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I might go watch the original one tonight. I think it was good.
Yeah, hey, there you go. Spooky season,
Spooky
full
season.
effect. All right,
I'm gonna go get a pumpkin now.
there you go. I was at the grocery store today, and I was tempted to buy one of the ones that like are outside.
I want to try. I think I've carved a pumpkin like once in my life. I want to try it again.
Same. I remember carving a pumpkin exactly one time when I was a kid, but no more than that.
Yeah, I think I want
Maybe
to
at
try it, but at
school
the
a
time,
couple
I
more
think
times.
also kind of, it's like I hear it's messy. I don't like
It is. It gets very messy, but you can take the like pumpkin stuff out and make something out of it, like the insides.
You're going to gouge out a pumpkin and eat its insides.
Like I don't know the proper name of the stuff inside of the pumpkin.
It's a pumpkin. It's a squash. It doesn't have it's just the squash inside. It's the pumpkin filling. The seeds.
This there we go. The filling. We'll call it that. Because isn't the squash a different?
No, a pumpkin's a
Anyway,
squash. A pumpkin's a squash.
is it?
Yeah. Because it grows on the ground and it has a vine. It's a squash. It's the same thing as like what squashes? I don't actually know different names of squashes. I try to think of what I'm like. I don't know. It is a squash. A pumpkin's a squash.
Okay.
And on that note.
Anyway, on that note, where can we find you at?
I am at Alex and Nobody on Instagram. Also on TikTok, I'm Alex and Cheddar. I also run the TikTok account for the podcast, The First Ones to Die, where I put little clips of the show and, make little fun TikToks, because that's where I spend my life right now. What about you?
You can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. You can follow us at The First Ones. You follow us at The First Ones to Die. On any social media platform, you can email us, thefirstones2die@gmail.com. Please rate us 5 stars. Give us a review on whichever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Go ahead and give us a like and subscribe as well.
And unlike Jonathan's rating with Malcolm and Marie, please keep us at 5 stars and all positive reviews if can.
Don't gradually, like, over the months.
Look, like, we couldn't find a way to fit it into the show, so I was like, let me slip that in real quick.
We have to. Hey,
I found a way. Life finds a way.
In the final seconds. All right. I would say happy Halloween, but we still got a couple more weeks to go till Halloween. So
happy fall.
Happy fall. Happy
autumn, harvest. Yes. What?
I said spooky. I said happy spooky season.
Oh, it sounded like you said squeezing. All right. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.